Hey everyone, Ran Ben Avram here again for Aetuts. Before we begin our tutorial, let's do a quick preview of what we're going to be creating today. This piece of footage I'm using comes from a great site called Hollywood Camera Work, and if you haven't heard of it so far, you really should check it out. It's a great site. They've got some great piece of footage there. Most of it is in high quality. This is where I got my footage, hair detail, great stuff here, all for free. And of course, before you do anything with it, make sure you read the license terms. Let's go back to our tutorial. Let's begin a clean slate, create a new composition, 1280 by 720. What we want to do first is track our footage, and we're going to track our footage using Mocha. The original sequence from Hollywood Camera Work is in PNG format, and unfortunately Mocha doesn't import that format, so you'll have to import it first to After Effects and render it out as a JPEG sequence, and then you can import it to Mocha. So let's jump into Mocha. Okay, inside Mocha we'll import our JPEG sequence and hit OK, and that's it. So basically what we want to do is track the entire face to get the slight movement and changes we've got in this piece of footage. So let's hit the create X-spline layer, and we'll start drawing a mask around most of her face. And right click to exit the creation mode, and let's just do little adjustments here. Okay, and let's see how that works. Okay, so that seems to be a real nice track. Seems to follow her face quite well. Okay, so let's export this data. Hit export tracking data. The default format you'll get is one of these, I think it's the first one, but I already tracked the footage and it remembered my last choice, which is After Effects Transform Data. And this is the option you want to choose, and hit copy to clipboard, and let's go back to After Effects. Let's drag in our piece of footage here, and we'll create a new null object and hit Control V or edit paste, and now we've got the tracking data in our null object. Thing is, we got a lot of data here and we don't need all of it. The data that we do need is the position and the rotation. We don't need the scale, so let's erase that. We don't have any changes, not real big ones at the scale, so we don't need it. And I want to replace the data in the anchor point with the one in the position, so let's hit Control C or edit copy and paste it inside the position value, Control V or edit paste, and we don't need the anchor point information anymore. And let's switch it to 0, 0, so it will be in the center of our screen. Okay, so now we've got a bit of a problem. We're working in 30 frames per second rate, and we tracked this footage in 24 frames per second rate. The tracking isn't precise. So what we need to do is go to the end of our PNG sequence by hitting O, mark all of the keyframes, and let's get a bit closer here. While I'm holding Alt, I'll drag back the keyframes to the end of the PNG sequence. And now I've got precise tracking, and let's make sure of that. Let's create a new solid and stick it on her forehead, and let's parent it to the null. Yeah, the tracking is pretty much precise. Okay, great. Now a bit of a clean house here. Let's rename this tracker to track data, and the composition is to last until this point. Okay, so now let's rename this composition to footage key, and let's key it. So hit key light and apply it, and let's pick the green, and voila. And there you go, the keying is complete. Well, it is a very nice king straight away, but let's switch to screen mate, and over here at the left corner we can see there's just a little bit of white dots. I don't know if you can see it through the recording, but there are a bit of leftovers here, so let's get rid of those. Not too much because we don't want to lose the hair details. Let's just validate. Let's switch back to final result, and that's some great keying we've got here. Next, let's create a new composition out of this one, and we'll call it CC for color correction. We'll apply a new adjustment layer, call it CC as well, and let's do a bit of color correction here. We'll keep it simple. Apply levels. Let's increase this one. Okay. And we'll apply curves. We're just looking for introducing a bit of contrast into this footage. Just a tad, not too much. Okay, I'm happy with this. And once again, I don't know if you can see it through this recording, but we do get some noise on this piece of footage, and I actually didn't really see it until I introduced the background to it, and since the background was very sharp, you can really see the contrast of the background and the footage. There is some amount of noise in this footage, and one of my favorite ways of get rid of this noise is using one of the revision plugins called denoise. What denoiser basically does is blurring the problematic parts, but denoiser does a real good job, and the final result doesn't look that blurred out, and the default values are working great for me, so I'll leave it as is. So that's it for our color correction, and let's drag in this composition into a new one, rename this composition to transition, and it's time for the fun to begin. In my assets folder under stills, I've got several pictures of old men and women, and I'm gonna use parts of their faces and assimilate those to create the rapid aging effect. But first we need our tracking data, so let's cut it out from here and paste it here. We don't need to see it. Okay, now let's see. Yeah. Look at this old face. Now these are wrinkles. Okay, we're going to use this lady's cheek, and I have no idea how they call this particular wrinkle, but this thingy over here. Okay, so now let's first rename this to left cheek and lower the opacity so we can see what's going on. Now let's try to place the cheek in its right place. So rotate it a bit. Let's lower the opacity even more. Okay. So it should be somewhere around here and needs to be a bit scaled up. Okay. This looks nice. Great. Now let's mask out the part that we want to use. Okay, this is a bit too much. And feather it out. Okay, to help assimilate the picture to the footage, there are several techniques out there to do that. I'm gonna keep it as basic as I can, and first I'm gonna raise the opacity back to 100 and switch the transfer mode to overlay. Now you can play with the transfer modes, soft light or hard light or linear light. You have to play around with those. And I'm going to apply curves, and I'm going to show you a real nice technique that I like to use to help me color correct. Next to the resolution pop-up, you have color channel pop-up, and if you will hit it, we can switch to reds or greens or blues or alpha. We're going to switch it to reds. You can see it's red because we have a red frame around our composition, and in curves we're going to switch to red as well, And now we're going to try to match the dark tones and the light tones in our picture to match the ones in the footage. Right now it's a bit too bright, so take it down a bit. Okay. Switch to green in the curves as well. And blue, not alpha, but blue. Okay, let's switch it back to RGB. And it's pretty close, but we can help it a bit. Final touches. And let's lower the opacity. Make it about 75. This actually looks great. And this red part, well, we're going to mask it out with more parts that will come above this part, the eye parts, and the nose parts will mask out this this part, which is obviously too red. But you can see the technique works quite nice, and it's a bit too rough, so we'll switch it to 65% maybe. Okay, this looks better. Okay, so this is the left cheek, and let's duplicate this one and call it right cheek. Okay, and hit S, and we'll move the constraint on the X and Y values and hit minus on the Y. Makes it flip. Okay, and now we'll rotate it just a bit. And maybe scale it down as well. Just that. Okay, and let's see how the mask looks. Yeah, we can we don't want the mask to interfere with our hair. And immediately you can see how this works. Yeah, so now let's connect these two to our tracking data, and let's see how well it works. Yeah, it works quite well. Okay, so now that you've got the main idea on how to create the wrinkles, and since I want to keep this tutorial topical, let me just jump forward to the point where all the wrinkles are at place. And here we are. And as you can see, we're getting closer to our target of rapid aging, but we can take it a few steps forward. First thing I would like to do is apply a bit of a shadow in the eye sockets, just to give the illusion that the eye sockets are a bit more deep than they are right now. And to do that, we'll create a new solid. We'll make it dark blue. And let's see. We want to catch most of this part. And we want to disclude the eye itself. And let's make it visible again, and switch the second mask to subtract, and let's hit F and feather out. The first mask will feather out quite a lot, and the second one just a tag. Okay, and now she looks as if she's got a really bad black eye, and let's take care of that. Let's lower the opacity to about 30. Now let's take a quick look. So we got the illusion of the eye socket being having a bit more depth to it, and something that happens when you're getting old, people. Okay, and let's call this left eye shadow. Okay, and now let's create another one, and we'll call this one right eye shadow. And one more. Subtract and feather everything out. And let's lower the opacity just a bit more, let's say 20. Now this is looking better, and by better I mean worse, because let's face it, this is not a pretty face, no offense there. Okay, one more shadow I would like to apply is by the neck, because basically I applied 2D layers onto the cheek and to the face. These 2D layers actually interfere with the depth of field sensation that we get from the highlights and shadows that occurred naturally during the creating of the footage. So what I'm trying to say is that we need some shadow here under the chin. So let's create one, duplicate this one, and we'll call it chin shadow. And let's erase the masks. Let's see, we want the shadow to be around this area. Let's feather it out. Actually, the shadow around here looks more like a bruise than a shadow. Then I think that what we should really do is change the color of the shadow. So hit Ctrl Shift Y to change the solid settings, and let's sample the shadow color we got here, which is actually black. That makes it look better. And more than that, we would need to move the shadow to be beneath all the other layers, and pretty soon you'll see why that is important. Okay, there's one last thing I would like to apply to the right eye, and if we look closely, we can see the wrinkles don't move precisely as it should with the rest of the lines on her face. So we'll apply liquify, and to extend and lower the brush size, I'll hit Control, hold left click, and drag the mouse to the right or left. Let's lower the brush pressure and move it just a tad there. Okay, this should do. Great. And we do have one wrinkle that's going above the eyebrow, so let's take care of that. For that we'll need a smaller brush, and we'll increase the pressure, increase the brush size a bit. There we go. Okay, now let's have a quick preview on how we're doing so far. Okay, so we're doing quite well. The tracking is working well, and we have got some minor facial expressions here. She gives us a small smile, and there's one wink of the eye there. Let's start with the smile. The smile would naturally affect the cheeks. So let's where's the peak of the smile? Just about here. You can see there's a little smiling wrinkle on her face, and it would be nice if the wrinkles we composed over her face would react the same way. So to do that, we'll use the liquify effect once more, and the brush size here is way too big, so Control left click and drag to adjust the brush size, and let's see. Okay, So let's set a keyframe for it at the distribution percentage, and over here she doesn't smile almost at all, so we'll set it to 0, and she keeps on smiling just about until the end, somewhere around here. Set another keyframe, and at the end she wipes off her lovely smile, so we'll set it to 0 once more. Next we want to apply the same effect to the right cheek, so liquefy, lower the brush size, and since we have the exact locations in time where we want to put our keyframes, so actually I've applied it to the right nose, so my mistake. Need to apply it to the right cheek. Okay. Okay, and let's hit U to see what we're doing here. Set it here to 0, 100 here, and 0 here. And wonderful, she's smiling. Next, what we want to do is the blink of the eye. This is where the blink starts. So we need to affect the left eye first. So hit M to reveal the mask, and we're going to animate mask 2. And at this position it should be as it is right now. And at this point the eye should be closed. And at this point it should be opened. So that way we get a small amount of wrinkles on the eyelids as well. And we want to apply the same effect to the left eye shadow. Let's see, at this point it's as it is. At this point the eye is closed, so the shadow should be a bit deeper or darker, or cover more of the eye. These are small features in the face, but that's what's making all the difference. As we get older, and it happens to us all people, gravity affects different parts of our bodies. You mostly see it in double chin and fallen cheeks. We're gonna do the fallen cheeks part. Hit liquefy once more, adjust brush size, and let's see. This works for me. And let's do the same for the right cheek. And now let's set a keyframe for that. Let's say that over time the cheek starts to fall somewhere around here. Set a keyframe, and for this one as well, let's hit U so we can see what we're doing. Just about here it gets to 100%. First keyframe, it's 0. Okay, so now for the transition. Most likely the neck will go first. So let's hit T, and from around this point it will start to decay till around here. So let's set it to 0 at the first keyframes. Okay, that's it for the neck. The lips, women tend to take care of their lips, so let's set a keyframe here. Okay. The eyes, let's set a keyframe here, and just about here it will be at 0. And same goes for the eyes shadow. The chin actually goes a bit further in time. It's 0 here. Okay. And the forehead tends to go first. Okay. And the cheeks go a bit later in time. Okay. And switch it to 0 at the first keyframes. And now the chin should be relative to the cheeks. And last but not least, the nose, which also tends to go a bit later in time. So let's say it about here. Let's do a quick preview of how it looks. So the cheeks falling down are a bit exaggerated, and over here we can see some shadow of the cheek, so let's take care of those. Let's see, left cheek, and so let's switch it to about 75. That should take care of that, and this one as well. move it over here and set it to 75. One last thing is the hair. So let's switch to the first frame, create a new adjustment layer and call it hair. We need to make it a bit bigger than the other layers, and let me show you why. Let's apply a fill for a second. If I'll attach the hair to the tracker data, you can see because it's not big enough, we're seeing beyond the edge. So let's Control Z, just a second here. Let's make this one 200, so we won't have to worry about that. And let's apply to it tone and apply curves. Let's shut those down for a second and draw a quick mask around the hair. And you'll excuse me if it's not too precise, since this is only for this tutorial. When you do this back home, you can of course be as precise as you need to. Okay, let's see the effects once more and switch the midtones to gray, light gray, and in the curves we just want to lighten up just a tad, lighten up the hair. Okay, and we don't want that powerful. Let's switch the opacity to 85 or maybe even 90, and that's just about it. Let's feather it out. 15 should be fine. Last thing, we need to attach the hair to the tracker data, and let's set keyframes over time. Let's hit T and make a keyframe. This will be the end, and at the first keyframe it will be at 0. Okay, so over time you would need to play a bit with the mask, maybe animate it just a bit, but all in all the tracking does most of your job. And that's just about it, people. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I was really waiting for a long time to do this one. Well, this is just the basics on rapid aging. I'm sure you can find more and more techniques and ways on how to enhance this effect. And if you do, send me a link. I would love to see it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, people. I've been yapping at you for this last 30 minutes or so. My name is Ram Ben Avraham, and I'll see you next time.